Everybody, it's been a while since Synthesis has made an update, and that's because we're operators, so we've been operating our properties. People have been asking for updates on Synthesis for a long time, so we have two for you. One, the next version of Synthesis that comes out is going to be Google Sheets enabled. People have been asking for that, so we're going to give it to you. The next is Pref Equity, Precedence Equity. Lots of people have been asking for this. What it means is that Synthesis now has the ability to take a tranche of equity and make it get all the profits first before the second equity gets any pieces. Synthesis in the past is called pro rata. It means you can have two different shares and it equally goes to the amount of equity to each of the shares. But precedence is what Pref Equity uses to make a share get all the cash flow first until it reaches a certain point, and then any overflow goes to the next equity. This junior equity, the common equity, is then amplified because the large chunk of Pref Equity has a cap. So anything over that goes all to this smaller portion of equity. The math is difficult. You can present it in a bunch of different ways. Sometimes it gets way too wonky. I've seen with people make the equity and the calculations be too hard to figure out. And Synthesis is built on making things simple and understandable. Tons of people used Pref Equity in the last cycle. And sadly, they didn't understand what Pref Equity was going to do when they didn't get their returns, and they control the deal. So any junior equity, the part of equity where it flows after the Pref Equity, gets blown out, meaning the Pref Equity has control if they feel like they're not going to get their return. So they can force a sale on the deal. And I think a lot of inexperienced operators were unsophisticated and didn't realize that that day could come. And they got into too big of a deal because Pref Equity helps with large raises. If you need to do a raise of capital and this big chunk of equity comes in, you don't have to raise as much, but that equity has their needs and it's precedence. So Synthesis is here. It's coming out in the next few weeks. It could be a month, but anybody that has Synthesis now will get the Pref version for free. So anybody that has it already will get Pref the version for free. The price will be going up after it launches, and then everybody will get both versions for a higher price. But if you get in now, you get the Pref Equity for the original price. And like I said, anybody that's bought Synthesis, we thank you. You guys have been great fans. I've seen Synthesis used for a lot of different mortgage brokers, even some institutional people use it. They won't admit it because, they have their sophisticated software, but they do use Synthesis. I know that it's gotten to some Pref Equity, but it didn't have precedence. Now it does. This will help you take advantage of larger raises if you so dare, but at least you'll know if the Pref Equity is going to work. Will the Pref Equity get their returns, and will it put you in danger or not? Synthesis helps you determine that very quickly with some very complicated math. We're going to have tutorials to tell you how to use it, the Synthesis, how to use Pref Equity. Thankfully, at Sharpline, we haven't used Pref Equity, so it didn't get us in trouble. It got a lot of people in trouble, unfortunately, because the Pref Equity calls the shots on deals that aren't doing so great. So thankfully, we didn't use it, but we're going to start using it because the market is turning and it's time to see if Pref Equity can work. And there's a lot of Pref Equity groups out there that want to deploy their money. So if you, the non-institutional person, wants to figure out how to use Pref Equity safely, this calculator will help you determine if it's the right move. And the institutions, I know you're going to look at Synthesis. I know some of you use it, but you're going to start using it because it's simpler to use and simpler to get to an answer. And then you can go put it in your complicated models. But Synthesis is here for simplicity and quickness to determine if it works. And it's helped many buyers analyze a deal very quickly and not waste their time on ones that don't work. So Synthesis is back, and it's got two new updates. Google Sheets, Precedence, Pref Equity. Enjoy.